Hi, I am Tilman Vonderland, and I am here to talk to you about what kind of knives you'd like to take out into the bush. Okay, now there's literally thousands of knives that can be classed as survival knives, but they there's differences, right? There's movie knives, and then there's hunting knives, and then there's kitchen knives, and all sorts of other blades, bush blades and Bowie knives, you name it. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of knives today, and I'm going to show you first off a nice sharp blade. Okay, that's a kitchen knife. I like this one because it's got the blade that actually goes all the way down through the butt of the handle, and then it has the handle here that's attached by rivets. Really good blade. Okay, nice and sharp too. Okay, then there's the Ginsu knife. Okay, it slices, it dices. Then we have here a serrated edge blade that you can use for bread or tomatoes. Very, very nice. Okay, then we have folding knives. Right, folding knives. Always be careful when you're folding. Right, and then we have movie knives. We have the Bates Motel knife. Okay, and then we have the Crocodile Dundee knife. Okay, it's a Bowie knife, a lot bigger than the Bates Motel knife. There's just a picture of it here. Okay, much more of a knife than you're actually going to need. Okay, and then there is this knife here. This is a Rambo knife, and I'd like to bring attention to this one because this one's really kind of cool. Okay, it's got the saw blade edge on the back of the knife here. Right, a little bit useless because these saw teeth are not sharp. So if you're trying to cut through a piece of wood, it's not going to work. Okay. Now it has a little bit of a tube here with a band-aid in it. Okay, you probably will need that band-aid because you'll probably cut yourself with this blade. Okay, it's got two matches, and it has a little fish hook in here and some line, and then it all slips into the handle here, and it has a little cover that screws on there, and it's got a compass on it, which is also kind of cool. Hope it works. Okay, the thing about these blades here is that, well, it has it's sporting a blood groove, which is also kind of, you know, macho. It's a macho blade. It's a movie blade. My goodness. Okay, the handle here is hollow, so that already is not a good deal for me because it probably will fail. The blade only goes to there, so if you end up hitting something or stabbing something, the blade could probably break off. Okay, and if it's sharp, you're probably going to get cut, right? Which you probably need the band-aid for. Okay, so it might fail here, the handle might fail there, and what happens if you lose the little screw-on tip here and your band-aid falls out, right? Okay, otherwise, fairly good blade here. It's got a sheath too. Keep all your knives sheathed when you're in the forest. That's very, very important. Otherwise, with these long blades, you end up probably falling, and the blade will find its way into your entrails, and that's not very, very cool either. Here's another movie blade. Huh? Look at this one. And it's pointy. Okay, but like the movie blades, they probably are too long, too thin, and may bend a little bit. Okay, and that's, if a blade is bent, forget about it. You know, you might want to straighten it and get it tempered again, but that might change the temper in the actual metal and make it even even weaker, right? So you have to worry about that. Okay, so bendy steel is not great steel. Okay, so another blade that I want to talk to you about today is this one's from Outside Magazine. Okay, Got that with a subscription years ago. Has a couple of blades on it. Okay, does not matter the size of the blade really. Blade is blade, right? It's all sharp. This one's sharper than the other one, but this one here, the knife has been used a lot here, and the locking mechanism has become a little bit weak. So if the locking mechanism is a little bit weak and you are going to push against something, it could close on you, and if your fingers happen to be there, then you'll need the Band-Aid from the Rambo blade. Okay, so watch that. How many times have you ever cut yourself cutting through a bagel? Okay, I've done that using this knife, holding the bagel, right? I'm holding it like this, and you're wondering why it won't cut through anymore. It's because you're right onto the bone of your thumb. I've done that. Not great. I thought I'd never do that, but I did. Okay, so this blade here has been used a lot, and it's no longer that safe, right? So if you're going to stab something, make sure that you have a blade that is safe. Okay, when you're cutting, always cut away from you. Okay, never towards you like this. Okay, away from you. Cut on a solid surface. If what you're cutting on, if you can anchor that and keep it still, then it's going to cut a little bit better. A lot of times when you're cutting something and the part is moving around a little bit, it's unstable, and if the blade is dull a little bit, it might bind or catch somewhere, and then oftentimes you're going to, I guess it's instinct, you're going to actually put a little bit more force on it, and you can twist the blade or you'll slip, and if you're cutting on your leg or something like that, you'll hit your leg. And so if you're out in the bush and miles away from anywhere, you know, you're in problem. Okay, so if you're going to also hack at a piece of wood, let's take the Motel knife out. Okay, watch where you're hacking. Okay, if your thumb's close, you don't want to hack on your thumb. Also, you got bits falling off here, and if you happen to get something in your eye, then it's also another problem, right? Okay, so some blades, they'll actually fail. You've seen that on axes. You know how they have the little dents where somebody's hit into a rock or something like that, or something harder, and so that can happen with these, and so you're going to have to then polish that out. And so a sharp blade is better than a dull blade, obviously. What you're going to use is a stone to sharpen with, and this is a nice smooth stone. And when you're going to sharpen a blade, you're going to place it at 45-degree angle, like that, from the stone, and do 5 circles away from you, okay, so that you're sharpening the blade this way rather than that way. Okay, so 5 circles away from you, and then you're going to turn the blade over on the other side and do the same. 5 circles away from you again. Okay, so whenever you're going to do 5 on one side, you're going to have to do 5 on the other side as well. Right, so with blades, safety is another key issue. This one here I've used a lot. Okay, it's gotten a little bit of rustiness in it. You can see there's some rust issues happening here. Okay, it probably needs to be cleaned up again. It's also got some rust issues on the blade as well, and that's from closing it. Okay, so my hands are probably greasy and sweaty. You close it and put it away, and then that oil is going to eat into the blade a little bit. So that's an issue with this one. The locking mechanism also needs to be cleaned, as well as the compartment here where the blade is in. So if the locking mechanism isn't oiled regularly, then it will also fail, and you'll end up with this situation here with this blade where it's gotten really weak. Okay, so clean, oil, and store in a dry, cool place, not your basement. Okay, don't store it in the basement, otherwise all your nice knives will turn into rust. Okay. They'll get rusty and no longer be very attractive for you or any kind of uses that you have that you want to use it for. Okay, so what happens if you don't have a blade, right? You're in the forest and you say, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm in the forest and I forgot my knife. Well, what are you going to use? I happen to have found this one here. Yeah, I just sharpened it on this one. This is nice smooth stone. A sharpening stone all depends on how densely the grains are here on the stone. And sure, you've seen sharpening stones, much like sandpaper as well. And there's many different types of grit, even in stone. Okay, so I found this one. I thought, this looks like it could have been a knife at one time, right? Prehistoric maybe, who knows? And then while I was looking a little bit further, I found this and I thought, well, that's not a natural break in these stones here. This one's been chipped. Okay, they're quite determined, all chipped in one way, and this middle chip here is just a fortunate chip, I'm sure, but it fits my thumb very well like that, and my hand as well. It's got a nice sharp blade on there, and I've actually used it to cut pieces of bark, long pieces of bark that I've turned into rope. Okay, so tree at the beach, chop, 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 bark, and then made rope out of it. So you can use that. You can probably even sharpen this a little bit as well. So you're never without a blade. You just have to use your imagination and say, oh, I could change this into a blade. And there you go. It might be a little bit heavier than a folding knife, but it works just as well. Okay, so those are the things that I have to talk about what kind of knife you're going to take into the bush. Again, any kind of knife is a survival knife. It just has to be a safe one. Would I take the Bates Motel knife into the bush? No, I would not take the Bates Motel knife into the bush. I would sooner take this knife into the bush in a sheath. Okay, small, yes, easy to handle, good weight to it, it's not going to weigh me down. Or I take the folding knife with me, and the folding knife folds up, it's safe, so if I happen to stumble and fall or something like that, I'm not going to hurt myself, right? So if you're being chased by animals in the bush, which can happen, you're not going to be running with a blade either, right? And always keep it sheathed. And if you do run with a blade, happen to fall, the knife will probably fall in the same direction that you are falling, and it'll probably end up sticking out of the ground this way, and when you fall on it, it's going to end up impaling you. So be careful with knives, okay? Pick something that works for you. Until next time, take care, be safe in the bush. Yeah.